Laheim to life. So, once we stand up, we cannot fall. I've been thinking a lot in the last few days about the state of the world, like usual, but I've also been thinking a lot about the plight of men. You know, we're living in this gynocentric world now, where everything in the civilization is catered to women. You know, and you have, the mainstream media saying the future is female, all the while emasculating men, especially if you look like me. And all through kinder and college, they treat boys and men like defective girls. You know what happens in war, right? The first thing they do is kill all the men and boys. And then they kill off all the old women. Then they rape and murder women. Or take them as slaves anyways. That's what used to happen. So, this is a war. If you believe it or not, it is a war. It's a spiritual war. It's a war for the mind and the soul of men. Women are not women anymore. The women of this age are not my grandmother. And I don't think they ever will be my grandmother. They have drank the Kool-Aid of entitlement and princess syndrome, while men have been browbeaten to believe that they're toxic and that we need to be emotional, and stoicism is bad and strength is bad, and fighting your buddy because you're bored is bad. The emasculation of men, especially if you look like me. It is an attack, not just on men that look like me, but our people as a whole. Unfortunately, women are more prone to groupthink. So that is why they always go after the women first, to indoctrinate them. In 1943 Germany, the women were the biggest supporters of the brown shirts in the SS. Because women are easily manipulated, because they buy into the groupthink, because deep down in a woman's psyche, they need to feel like they're part of a group. And once they feel like they're getting ostracized from the group, they just need to fit in. It's a survival instinct that goes way back to the primeval days, right? Because there's always safety in numbers. And generally, the men will protect women, right? So women learned how to be agreeable for the most part. And for many, many eons it went on, women were made to be agreeable because it was a survival instinct. But now with the rise of feminism, especially the fourth wave feminism, it has become poison and toxic. It infects every facet of education. It infects popular culture as well. When you have celeb cards coming out saying there needs to be less men like me in Hollywood, that look like me in Hollywood, I guess the irony is that Hollywood is tanking because nobody wants to watch some Kool-Aid haired feminist browbeating men to believe that we are all wicked and evil. It is one of the last stages of the civilization. It is one of the last stages of a fallen civilization. And I know the feminists will hate it, but once women take over the civilization, it falls. The proof is in the pudding. It goes from the time of Cleopatra to whenever. I've said it in other videos before. From the time of Cleopatra to Mary Antoinette and Mary Queen of Scots. There has been some great women leaders in the world for sure. But generally speaking, women do not make good leaders. Just look at Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan, or Lori Lightfoot, or Nancy Pelosi, or AOC. They have no idea. They have no conviction. All they do is spew garbage and nonsense. And they have a little bit of power. And with this COVID-1984 power that they've just all of a sudden accumulated, they're getting drunk with it. Gretchen Whitmore. But this movie was mostly about this video was mostly about what we can do about the plight of men. It saddens me to know that men have become weak and pathetic. And if you look like me, blue eyes and whatever, if you look like me and you're of my people, you realize that is a direct attack on us. Men build civilizations because men build things, and once they take our power away to be the protector and the breadwinner, then men really don't have a purpose, because women are meant to feel like they can do anything, and they're supposed to, girl power and bullshit, all the while tearing down men. Like I'm getting to be middle-aged now. I remember when I was a young man, girls and boys alike, we all got along. We never talked about toxic masculinity and anything like that. Women enjoyed hanging out with the boys and enjoyed watching us get into fights once in a while, and That's one of the major difference between men and women, is that a man can have a fight with his best friend, beat the crap out of each other, and then at the end of the fight they hug each other and everything's great. But a woman gets in a fight with a man, or gets in a fight with one of her girlfriends or whatever, she won't talk to him or her for forever, for years and years and years. And even after the fact, she will still hold a grudge against whoever wronged her in her mind. That's why women don't make good politicians. That's why women don't make good leaders. Because women can't let go. And now with this age of ignorance, we teach our women that they should feel entitled and they have their princess complex and they deserve whatever, right? But men are still made to feel like we need to protect women. We still need to take care of women. Nobody ever talks about the fact that men's wages, just no matter race or creed, men's wages have dropped by 13, 14% across the board. There are people unable to get a job because they happen to be male and white. And then when these women go through these indoctrination stations that are college and university now, men in general only make up 40% of the campus population. Because men have chosen not to go to university and college because of these radical ideas about feminism and how men are just wicked and evil, especially if you look like me. And the real great dichotomy that I see in the last, say, 5-6 years is the rise of Islam and the coalition of evil that is Islam and feminism. Do these women even know what the ideology of Islam is? It's like an unholy alliance. But you know what it is? It's to further create the divide between men and women. Because if they can create a divide between 50% of the people, like the war of the sexes, that was a big thing when I was growing up. The demon witch that is Oprah Winfrey pushing all this feminist garbage, and stupid white liberal women soaking it up like a sponge. There are good women in the world, and there are good men in the world. But I fear that the men of this generation, they will bring the death of our nations. Because once the invading hordes get their way, our weak men will not be able to stand against them. Because they don't have our same ideology. You can sit there and virtue signal all you want about whatever. But the bottom line is that the West is the best for a reason. There is a reason why our civilization was able to flourish and grow. There's a reason why we had a system in play to create balance. The invading hordes don't share our same philosophy on reality. They only know hate and ignorance, low information, wicked. But I have a great hole in my heart, because if you've watched any of my videos, I'm not a wealthy person at all. I'm not a wealthy man at all. You know, I basically work to live. If I have enough money to buy a 6-pack of beer and a pack of smokes a day, I'm pretty good, right? I'm pretty happy with that. But it's really hard to find a partner, somebody to share your life with, somebody to build a family with, you know, even as hard as I work, when I do work. You know, it's very hard nowadays to find a meaningful relationship. Even women that have less than me think they're too good for me because of their princess complex. It's like I've said earlier in this video, the women of this age are not my grandmother, or my mother for that matter. But my mother was the generation of poison, the first generation that really got indoctrinated into the poison that is feminism. Where she thought because she's a woman and she can do whatever the hell she wants and there's no repercussions, and you know, that's basically when my mom was a young woman. That was basically the start of the welfare state, and when women started marrying the state other than marrying their husband. Because it has been systematically it's been systematically instilled in my mom's generation. You know, she was growing up. She was a teenager in the 70s, right? Like, she had me when she was 19 or 21. Sorry, she had my brother when she was 19. So, you know, but she grew up in the age of free love and blah, 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 you know, in the 70s, and the consumerism, the ideology, the ideology of consumption. Fortunately, my mom was a good girl, and I didn't have a lineup of men coming in and out of the door every freaking week. And I really feel bad for those boys who have grown up in such a situation and with such a foul mother. I'm very lucky, actually, and I count my blessings each day that my mom actually married my father, and my father was a part of my life. Although they got divorced, my mom did meet somebody else who was a very good man. And I don't think that I would be the person that I am today if it wasn't for him. I know I've said in other videos too, like I made a video, I don't know, a year ago called To the Hearts of Men. And I share my thoughts on what young men need to do. But just to reiterate some of that video is the young men need to move away from their mother's bosom. They need to seek men that are working in the shops, in the garages, and in construction, and find men that are doing things that are masculine, like working on cars and building a house and doing hobbies and crafts and honing their skill, either it be music or working on an old car or doing some paint and body work, or, you know, move away from your mother's bosom. And I'll quote Jesse Lee Peterson again, is that young men and women need to forgive their mother and go back to their father. Reach out to their father. Unfortunately, in my existence, and my greatest regret, is that I never forgave my father. But from watching Jesse Lee Peterson, I realized that it wasn't my father who left. It was my mother who left my father because she thought she could do better. But my greatest regret is that I was never able to forgive my father because he died like maybe, I don't know how many years ago, but he died a couple of years ago anyway. And he left this earth with a hole in his heart, a great emptiness in his heart. And if I knew then what I know now, is that I would have forgave my father. But thankfully, if Jesse Lee Peterson ever sees this video, which is highly unlikely, I did forgive my mother. And she still hasn't figured it out, but whatever. But that is a good lesson from Jesse Lee. And men and women need to forgive their mother, because the mother is of the earth and the father is of heaven. I don't mean to sound like a zealot, but in this age, in this recent time, this 2020, it basically has made me reaffirm my belief in God or the gods. Like, I am a pagan. I believe in my ancestral gods for sure, but with this time of darkness and this great time of ignorance, I find myself falling more towards God. It's a time like no other. And this time is like, it's like you can see the darkness everywhere. But once we stand up, we cannot fall. And to all you young men out there, find your hope. Find truth. Find truth in your work. Find truth in your hobbies. Don't worry so much about the women. Eventually the women will learn. Eventually the women will learn that their groupthink is not conducive to a healthy life or a healthy relationship with their partner. And as far as this attack on our people is concerned, we must stand up against it. We must stop these attacks. And all free-thinking people need to protest against the ignorance of the left promoting their hate and garbage. their projections. We can't just sit idle anymore. We must wake up. We must see the forest for the trees. We must stop these attacks upon our people, and especially our boys. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, when it comes to war, the first thing they do is destroy the men, then the boys, then the older women, and then the women are either murdered and raped. That's what happens in war. And these invading hordes that keep on coming into our lands, these people who keep spewing their awful vitriol and hate, these people who treat our boys like defective girls need to be called out and dragged out. If I had it my way, I would separate boys and girls through the first few years of their education, up until like probably grade 8 in Canada. We go up to grade 12. I don't know what, in certain provinces we have grade 13 even in Ontario. But I don't know what it's like in the States, but if I had it my way, it'd be like Japan kind of, because in Japan, boys and girls are separated until like they're grade 7 or whatever that is in Japan. But boys go to their separate school up until grade 7, and girls go to their school up until grade 7. And then once they hit grade 7, once they finish grade 7, they go into high school, and then they can meet in a high school. And I think that's the way it should be, because boys learn a lot differently than girls. Boys need more hands-on. Boys need more constructive thinking, where girls can sit quietly and learn. Boys need to be busy and work with their hands and work with their mind. You know, it's not, segregation of the sexes is not a bad thing. Because once boys learn how to be men, then they can be better husbands, right? But unfortunately, we have a bunch of boys pretending to be men, and then they get married, but yet they're still boys. They don't know what it is to be a man because they have never been a man, drinking their soy lattes and, you know, wearing their skinny jeans and whatever. Living life.